could say, hey, this is not actually this bear jumping out at me.
Have our kids go to chiropractic and regulate our kids, but it's really like, hey, what are you doing for yourself to help regulate your own children, but through you?
Us as parents, we are still having an umbilical cord to our children. Our nervous system is directly affecting them. Guys, I was a 78 out of 100. I mean, that's how stressed out I was. And
Ask, can you describe it? And people are so out of touch with their bodies, and that is a sign that you are in that sympathetic nervous system and you can't identify things. And like you're saying,
Welcome to the Slowish Parenting Podcast. I'm your host, Alexis. I'm a mama to 2 little girls and a parenting coach. It's become my mission to help families rekindle connection, to rebuild relationships on a foundation of safety and trust, and to give parents the tools they need to show up with empathy and compassion, no matter what situation may arise. If you are craving slowness, peace, and joy in your parenting, you've come to the right place. Alrighty, let's get into today's episode.
Alrighty, in today's episode, I am so excited to bring to you a very influential person in my life. I'm excited to share my story about how I got into chiropractic care, what led me to it, and also the benefits that come from chiropractic care and how it affects the nervous system, which you guys know I am so passionate about. So I would like to welcome Dr. Bree today. Yeah, absolutely. So when I was thinking about doing this episode, I was remembering the moment that I knew I had to go to chiropractic care, but I was deathly afraid. I'm sure you get this a lot.
you and everyone else, yes.
I was so afraid because I mean, the stigma is like, I'm here to crack your back, and that sounds horribly scary,
Or your neck.
Or your neck, yeah.
People hate that one.
Yeah. So that was my fear. That's what stopped me from going, I think, for so long. But I'll never forget. So I was pregnant with my second. And I had this headache that literally radiated from the front of my head, and it wrapped around all the way down my neck and into like the middle of my back. And I called my midwife because it had lasted 5 days. Like, that's a really long time,
Very long, yeah.
And I was like, I can't take this anymore. And it was right around the gender reveal party. So I was like super bummed because I just didn't get to enjoy it the way I wanted to, So I ended up calling her, and she's like, yeah, I think you need to go to some chiropractic care. And if that doesn't work, then we'll look into other things. We'll take, your vitals and do all the things. And I was in South Carolina because we were RVing at the time.
Yep.
And I went to this girl that like literally changed my life. Okay. And I remember calling you because I had just started going to her like a couple months, and I needed to find somebody new. And I was so scared because this girl had just rocked my world. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And like, she has freed me of all my anxiety. I mean, honestly, I was starting to find freedom from anxiety, which was huge because that's something I'd never experienced. And the pain was going away. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go to somebody new. And then I met you. And I mean, I feel like you just progressed me to another level of freedom.
So nice.
I know. It was amazing. And I honestly, I don't know if I've thanked you before, but thank you.
It's all you. Your body does all the work. We just help assist it,
Yeah. And so, I mean, it was life-changing for me to be able to have that freedom within myself. And even like going into birth, because with my first, I mean, I had a hospital birth. That was like one big difference. But the second was like, I just felt so open. Yeah. And it like happened so easily.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's cool that you started that journey while pregnant too, because that just has so many other benefits for not only you, but also for baby. So that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let me open my notes. So I'm wondering if you can share a little bit about your journey with chiropractic care, kind of where you got started. And
yeah, it's an interesting one. I think a lot of times other chiropractors will have this kind of like a moment like you did. They have this really amazing experience and it's life-changing, and they're like, I'm going to chiropractic school and I'm going to change lives. And that's not how I found chiropractic care at all, even a little bit. I didn't even really know the benefits until really I was deep into it. So I grew up in Canada. I went to school there. I did kinesiology, and really thought that I wanted to be a PT because that's what my mom does. And I just always knew I wanted to work hands-on with the body. And my mom one day was like, don't you want to work with kids and babies? And I was like, yeah, I do. And she's like, well, I think you should consider chiropractic care. And at the time I was like, that's so weird. Why would I go to chiropractic school to work with babies? I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
But that kind of just stuck in my mind, and all throughout school, I didn't really feel pulled to going to PT school, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I loved the human body. And I just kind of got sick of living in Canada and was like, yeah, I'm just going to move to California and go to chiropractic school, because I just make rash decisions. And so packed up everything, went to California, started chiropractic school, and just really fell in love with the entire philosophy. It was almost like it was a meant to be thing. I showed up there and I was like, oh, this is what I was meant to do. We talk a lot in school about philosophy, and the body is self-healing and self-regulating, and the body needs no interference, or it doesn't. The body needs no help. It just needs no interference. And that really just kind of touched my soul. And I was like, yeah, I believe in all of this. And it wasn't until I was in clinic and I saw my very first pregnant patient, and I got to see her baby, and that's when it all kind of came full circle for me. And I was like, oh, I'm in the right profession, and I'm doing exactly what I need to do. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I got into chiropractic care. But like you're saying, a lot of people will have this miraculous experience and be like, this is what I need to do. But I kind of found mine in a different way. So
yeah, I love that, because I think so often here, I mean, as you all know, it's like I did have like some really kind of aha big moments that led me to some things, but I think it's also beautiful to not have those big aha moments and just to kind of let your body lead. And I feel like that's what you did.
Yeah.
You just
it was. And at the time, it didn't feel like I was, by any means following a path. It just, now looking back on it, I'm like, oh, that's exactly what needed to happen. Yeah. And it all just seemed random at the time. And now I'm like, oh, no, none of this was random.
Yeah. And what made your mom say, like, you should work with babies and kids? So was that something that you had said you always wanted to do?
Yeah. I had always wanted to work with specifically babies. And I remember at a young age Googling, like, what jobs can I work with babies? And it was like NICU nurse. And I was like, I don't really want to work in a hospital. I remember one of the jobs was, it was baby holder at the hospital. And I was like, I could totally be a baby holder. And then I looked more into it, and it was a volunteer position. And I was like, nah. I looked at maybe becoming like a preschool teacher, things like that. And none of it really I never felt like, okay, yeah, that's for sure what I need to do. But as soon as my mom said that, it just stuck with me. And I didn't even know, like, she never explained to me what that looks like. I had no idea the benefits. I didn't really understand what she was saying, but for some reason that just stuck with me, and kind of just led me down that path.
Yeah.
So
you took a leap and just did it.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, and moving from Canada to the US must have been, that must have just been a lot for your body in and of itself.
A lot. Yeah. At the time I was like, I'm going on a grand adventure. And it's been an adventure. Moving the country is not easy.
Yeah. And, I know when I first started seeing you, your passion was pregnancy and helping pregnant mamas. Was that kind of born out of this, like, I want to work with the babies?
Kind of. I thought I would just work with the babies. Honestly, pregnancy kind of scared me a little bit. And my first patient, so when you go through chiropractic school, you have to do clinicals. And so you enter into the clinic and you get real life patients. And my first patient was a pregnant patient. And at first I was a little nervous, and I had taken all of these courses and these extra classes on pregnancy and pediatrics, and knew that's kind of where I would go, but I was still really terrified of pregnancy just because there's so much going on. And I had never been pregnant. I had never really witnessed someone's pregnancy from start to end. And we just became really close friends. And she was so cool. And this was all at the beginning of COVID. And so she had a planned hospital birth, and that was kind of her path. Okay. But obviously in California during that time, there was a lot of different changes happening. And so we really worked one-on-one on how she could best prepare for that. And she ended up completely transferring, doing a home birth, having such a cool experience. Her husband started coming to appointments, and he was really interested. And so we kind of developed this bond, and I got to see her all through different phases of life, different changes in her body, and mentally and physically, emotionally. And so that was a really cool experience. And I was like, okay, I think I like pregnant women and I think I can do this. And then when baby was born, baby came in for her first adjustment, and that was really cool. And I was like, oh, this is why we do it, right? So it kind of just all blended together.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, for me, that was very much my story. Like, you know, I hadn't brought my oldest at the time to the chiropractor, which she still has not gone, you guys.
She hasn't?
No, she would hop up on the table, but that's about it.
Yep.
And so, yeah, she's just not, you know,
Not there yet.
which
That's
is okay. We, you know, and I do want to kind of chat about that in a little while. You know, bringing our kids to the chiropractor and giving really our whole family a kind of this kickstart to the nervous system. And so I'm wondering if you can kind of give us an overview of how chiropractic care can really, I guess, jumpstart that nervous system.
Yeah. So to put it simply, let's just talk about the nervous system.
Yeah.
The nervous system starts in your brain and then goes down every single one of your vertebrae through your spinal cord. And so the nervous system, people think it's, well, I don't really know what people think, but it's really more simple than we think. Sends signals from the brain down through the spine and then out through every single vertebrae. And we have 24 vertebrae from the very top of the neck all the way to the very bottom of the spine. And really the job of the spine is to protect that nervous system. It's so important. It's what coordinates everything in our body. And so from brain down and out to every single muscle, tissue, organ, gland, everything is really controlled by that. And so what we see and what we deal with is if there's any type of interference within that nervous system, it's almost like a communication signal. So brain goes to body to communicate, to digest our food, right? If there's any type of misalignment or any type of interference within that, that signal gets a little bit more weak. So it's like talking to you on a landline phone that's maybe a little staticky as opposed to speaking to you face to face and really getting that clear message. It's not that, you know, now we no longer are digesting because there's some kind of interference. It's just that it's maybe not as clear as it could be. And so from brain, down spinal cord, and out, and then also our body is really smart and takes that information from our surroundings up through the nervous system to our brain to be processed as well. So it's kind of like a nice loop, and we're always getting feedback. What happens is life, and in our office specifically, we talk about stressors in our life that cause what we call a subluxation. A lot of other chiropractors will call it a misalignment, a fixation, but just an area in your spine that's maybe not moving properly. And how we get that communication from brain to body and body back to brain is through movement. And so if there's an area that's not moving properly, we don't get that communication. And so our job is to go in and make sure that the body is functioning properly so that the brain can speak to the rest of the body. And so, it's pretty cool. And a lot of people go to the chiropractor because they have back pain. And are we great at fixing back pain? Yes. But only 10% of that nerve is pain. The other 90% is going to other really, really important functions of the body. And so we'll see people come in for back pain. And within a month or two, they're like, hey, you know, I've really realized I used to have this really bad reflux. And I'm no longer having reflux. And it's not that my scope of practice is not to fix your reflux. My scope is to make sure that your brain can communicate to the rest of your body efficiently. And when we fix things such as subluxations or areas of the spine that aren't moving properly, we see other things come from that as well, not just pain relief. So it's kind of like a holistic view on the nervous system and the body. Another big thing that we like to talk about is really within our autonomic nervous system, which is kind of, I think of autonomic nervous system, automatic, so the things that we don't think about, digesting our food, breathing, our heart beating, things like that. We have two divisions within that, our parasympathetic and our sympathetic nervous system, which I'm sure
we've talked about here a little bit. Yeah, we do.
People typically know them better as fight or flight, rest, and digest. Or I like to kind of say to my patients, gas pedal, brake pedal. We want to be able to access both. They're really, really important. If you're walking through the woods and a bear jumps out at you, we need our sympathetic, we need our fight or flight response. What that does is it dilates our pupils, it increases our heart rate, increases our blood pressure, sends all of the blood from our organ systems to our muscles so that we can run away if we need to. And that's a really, really important system of our body, and it's built in there not as a negative thing but actually as a positive thing.
I mean, so what we talk about here is like those are like your warning signs
Yes.
of like, you know, like for me anxiety was a constant warning sign Does that make sense? And it was
Yes.
not useful. So I had to relearn how to regulate myself so my nervous system could say, hey, this is not actually this bear jumping out at me.
Right. And our bodies don't know the difference.
No.
And that's the tough thing, is we don't know the difference between a bear jumping out at us or work stress or money stress, or even we go as far to say like the chemicals that we put on our body, or like things that we ingest and we eat. All of those things have an impact on that nervous system. And what we don't want to happen is get really, really stuck into that sympathetic side where we can no longer access that rest and digest.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in the world that we're living in, a lot of people tend to be more on that side than they do on the rest and digest side. And so we see it all the time. We have some scans that we do at our office that just show where people are on that scale. And it's crazy the amount of people who can't access that and can't regulate their nervous system.
Yeah. I mean, and I know you did a test on me, but when I had first gone to chiropractic care, the way my first chiropractor had done it is she gave me a scale of 0 to 100. And you guys, I was a 78 out of 100. I mean, that's how stressed out I was. And when looking back, like, and when I go back and look at pictures of my own body and my own, even my facial structure, the constriction that I see in myself is insane. I don't know I think I've mentioned her here. I love Corey Malloy. And she recently, in the last year, has really been talking about expanding your body and finding this expansion. And I have seen expansion in both of my children. And not only like facially, both my girls are very petite, but I mean, their bodies have begun opening up. And it's like, I tell everybody here all the time that it's like until age 7, us as parents, we are still having an umbilical cord to our children. Our nervous system is directly affecting them. And so that's why for me, if my 3-year-old doesn't want to go, that was okay with me because I knew I could control myself, right? I could show up, get my nervous system regulated, and do my best to be there for her. And then my baby, I mean, she loved going. She loved to be adjusted, and that was fun for her. And that's awesome, that we can attack it from that angle as well. Would you mind touching on like how you think this would benefit parents who are like, I want to get into nervous system regulation. I'm trying, like we talk a lot about, calm down tools here and ways that we can be ways that we can really be, what word am I looking for? I guess regulating ourselves in the moment, right? Like we have our child coming up to us and they are pissed because they want X, Y, and Z. And then we're in fight and flight, and we don't want to go there because we know that when we can show up with love and connection and empathy for what this child is going through at this moment, that we can be there more effectively. And so, for me, I think that chiropractic care is a great place to start because I believe that the body needs to learn what to do when we're not in fight or flight.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's huge for parents, especially because you can't show up and take care of your kid if you aren't able to really take care of yourself either, right? And I think that's a big parenting thing is we want to so much have our kids go to chiropractic and regulate our kids, but it's really like, hey, what are you doing for yourself to help regulate your own children, but through you? But yeah, chiropractic care can really, really help with that. Like we were saying, we have the gas pedal, we have the brake pedal, and we want to get into a place where we can easily adapt to all the stressors in our life. Stressors are never going to go away. Money stress, work stress, I mean, they might go away a little bit, but we're always going to have new stressors coming in. I like to describe it, an analogy, like a stress bucket. So we have all these things always pouring into our bucket. If our bucket is this big and we have things pouring in like money stress, chemical stressors, the food we eat, all these things are coming in. But what happens when that overflows? That's when we get symptoms. So that's when we get things like headaches, anxiety. We see it, reflux, constipation in kids. In adults, that could be, like not able to calm down or really self-regulate. And so what chiropractic allows you to do, or allows everyone to do, is not necessarily take away those stressors, but more so make you more adaptable to those stressors. We're not going to be able to take away everything. I can't take away your financial stress. I can't take away, I can't make you eat better. I can't make you not put toxins into your body. But what we can do is allow that bucket to get bigger so that you can allow more stressors, or you can allow yourself to not have those overflowing of symptoms, so that your nervous system can come to a place where we can access that sympathetic if we need, but we can also kind of down regulate and come back to center, so that we can also access that rest and digest. So you can come at it from a place of peace, and you can come at a neutral, mindset towards your children, as opposed to having this constant stress, because that's really not effective for not only you, but not for baby. It's not effective for your husband, your partner, your family. But yeah, allowing yourself to kind of find that balance, and come back down and regulate yourself back into that parasympathetic, so that you can serve from a place of love and not from a place of stress.
Yeah, I think that is a question I get a lot on within my group, is like, how do I regulate myself when I don't have time for myself? Like, how do I fill my cup? And I've always said chiropractic care is something that you can do. I mean, you can do it with your kids. You can bring your kids and do it. And it really is, I feel like, is so helpful in kind of kickstarting that nervous system regulation, especially for people who are like, I mean, myself, I think I was in such a hole. I think I needed somebody to help kind of dig me out.
Totally.
And that's where I feel like it comes in.
And how cool that your kids can see you taking care of yourself too, right? Like I love when kids come and watch mom or dad get adjusted, is really teaching them that, it's okay to take time for yourself, and this is mom's time, or this is dad's time, or this is the family time where we all get to go. We get to kind of forget everything else, and we get to restart for the day, right?
Yeah, I love that. And you guys, you and your husband. Okay, you guys are married. I didn't realize you guys were married. That's awesome. And they're expecting.
Yes.
A little.
We don't know.
You don't know.
We're keeping it a surprise.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Know.
I've always wanted to do
It's
that.
exciting now. It was not exciting at first. I was like, okay, this is getting old, and now I'm like, okay, now it's fun. Like, we're down to the wire. We get to find out soon.
That is so exciting. Yeah. That's awesome. But you guys started, your husband started a practice.
Yes.
Okay. And just share a little bit about what you guys do, what you guys believe. And
So my husband started a chiropractic office about 7 months ago. Since we met in school, we had always dreamed of having a family practice. He ended up starting it while I was working somewhere else, and I just moved over about a little over a month ago. But we have our little family practice with our dog. It's called Family Flow Chiropractic, and the whole idea behind our practice is nervous system regulation, and we talk about it all the time. Do people come in for pain? Yes, but then our whole goal is really, why are we having that pain? Let's look a little bit deeper. People come in, we get some nervous system scans, so we can really see, where are you? Like you were saying, on a 0 to 100 scale, where are you? Where's your body? What is going on underneath the surface that's causing these issues? We talk a lot about different stressors. So how's sleep? How's your food intake? How's money stress? How's work stress? All of these things. And then we kind of set, not necessarily a plan, but we allow people to figure out what's the best option for them is. We believe that regular chiropractic care is so important, not only to help, A, regulate the nervous system, B, help you live your best life, because when you're in pain, you're not able to serve really well. But also, we just believe that it's better to come in and get checked and not need to be adjusted than it is to come in or not come in and not get adjusted and need to be adjusted. And so we have a couple different options. We are a membership-based practice, so that it's affordable for individuals and families to come in and get adjusted.
That's awesome.
That's just what our belief is I get checked once a week. My husband gets checked once a week. Our baby will get checked once a week minimum. And I don't want that to be a financial burden for people. We really believe that families that get adjusted together, they regulate better. They function better. They're better able to identify emotions. They're better able to live their lives and prevent any kind of issues, as opposed to a lot of other chiropractic models where they come in when they're in pain, they use their insurance, they want to get out of pain, and once they're done coming forever, kind of thing. And so we really like the value of continual chiropractic care to just help heal everyone, make sure everyone's nervous system is functioning properly, so that they can do the things that they love and, be really present with their families.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that one thing you said that stuck out to me was being able to identify the emotions that are going on. And that was a huge part for me of after going through school. So like I've shared here before that when I first got into chiropractic care, I didn't go because I just wanted nervous system regulation. And I think you're even saying like, if you came in and said, I'm just here for nervous system regulation, you'd be like, that's so cool.
We've had like 2 patients like that. The rest are like, no. Yeah.
So if you're thinking about it, like I think anybody would be super happy to have you, you know, come in and work on your nervous system. But there was this piece of when, you know, we were in that that kind of rest and digest, it was like I was able to access these emotions that I had no idea even existed because I couldn't feel them. I became so out of touch with my own body. And I even started noticing what was going on within my body, which was, I feel like, a huge part in my anxiety.
Yes.
You know?
Totally. I think a lot of people will come in and even pain. They know they're in pain, but they can't really identify where, how long it's been going on. I ask, can you describe it? And people are so out of touch with their bodies. And that is a sign that you are in that sympathetic nervous system and you can't identify things. And like you're saying, when you come back down into that parasympathetic nervous system, when everything is calm, we can see people get way more in touch with their emotions, their feelings. We also hold a lot of emotions within the body. People don't realize that, but we're not one-dimensional. We're humans. We have emotions, we have feelings, and a lot of that harnesses in our body. I have a patient who, he was a ex-cop, and so he had gone through a lot. Yeah.
I can imagine.
And after every adjustment, he would cry. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, am I hurting this man? What's happening? And it took him a couple visits, and he was like, I think I'm just releasing a lot of trauma. And that was a really cool experience. And after each visit, we would just kind of let him digest. And he was like, trauma to my body, but not only physical trauma, there was a lot of emotional trauma. And having him be able to like release that was also a really big part in his healing journey. So
I love that. And as you're saying that, I started doing somatics.
Cool.
And I found a huge release happen because when I was regularly in chiropractic care, I got to a point where the emotional release wasn't happening nearly as much. I'm sure this is really normal, but in the beginning, I would get blurred vision all the time after chiropractic care. And it didn't go away for like a month. It was a really long time.
Interesting.
And because it would keep reoccurring, but I was under a whole ton of stress at this point. And so I think my body was really having a hard time. Like, we have this new, you know, we're regulating everything. We're getting rid of all these toxins. And also like, what the heck is going on? You know, we've held on to this for 20 some years. What the heck's going on, you know? But yeah, like I found that like when I started doing that, my body was like almost like able to like completely release. And I think that something that I really preach here is like, it's a process. And like, you need to be ready for whatever part of that process you're in. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about chiropractic care, because especially in those early stages for me, I don't think I could have done the somatics. I don't think I even could have done, if I was like going to a parent coach, I don't think I would have had the transformation I did because I wouldn't have been able to be open to it. I wouldn't have had the ability, you know, kind of like you were sharing earlier, to feel what was going on for myself.
Totally.
Yeah. So I do want to ask one last question. And I think this is going to be something that a lot of people are wondering. They're like, okay, awesome. You guys live near each other and, you know, you have this. So like, what can people look for in a chiropractor?
Totally.
How can they find one that has a holistic approach? Because I haven't even said this, but like, I mean, holistic approach to me is so important.
Yes.
You know, and I think you believe this, like, it's not just chiropractic care that's going to change everything.
No.
You know, we have to put the mind, the body, the soul, everything together to find
just
that
a
complete
piece of the puzzle.
change. Yeah. Yeah.
So how people can find.
Yes.
Okay. There's a lot of chiropractors in the world, and not all chiropractors have a nervous system based lens. Not all chiropractors are holistic or vitalistic. And so I would say the best place to start is really just look at someone's website. Like, what does the website say to you? Is there a picture of, you know, someone holding the neck ready to crack the neck, or is there the nerve that's irritated? Those are probably not the offices that you want to go to if you're looking specifically for nervous system regulation, holistic care. There's a couple different websites that you can look onto. And so the first one is, I don't know, there's a big chiropractor who also is in the social media space, Dr. Courtney Kayla. Have you heard of her?
Yes, I love her. Yeah.
So she has a nervous system directory, I think it's called. And so she puts on people all over the country who specifically are nervous system chiropractors.
Cool. I'm going to link that in the show notes for you guys.
So you can just type in where you are and it'll link you to wherever. I think there's us in Coeur d'Alene and there's maybe 1 or 2 people in Spokane. But then if you're, in Texas, there's people in Texas. If you're in Mississippi, there's people all over. And she does pretty good due diligence of finding people who she trusts and we trust her. And so she has a really great website. The other one is not necessarily vitalistic or holistic chiropractors, but people that I would really, really trust is anyone who's certified through the ICPA. And so what that is the International Chiropractic Pediatric Association. The reason I say that is you don't have to go to a pediatric chiropractor or a perinatal chiropractor to get great care, but the people who have taken these courses, I know have that philosophy and they have the ability and the mindset of the holistic practice. And so that's something else you could probably link, but same thing, find a chiropractor near me. You can type in a chiropractor or a place and you'll find chiropractors in that area.
Yeah, and I found too, Instagram was a really good place to find. That's actually how I found you in the beginning.
Really?
Was Instagram, and so, I mean, sometimes like typing, most people I feel who are more holistically minded are going to be doing a little bit of social media.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So
and it's a great way to look and see, do my philosophies align with this person? Yeah. And you'll get a really good idea really quick of.
Do most chiropractors give you like a free call or consultation
they
or
should.
something? Yeah.
I would say if they don't, I would ask for that and have a consultation and ask the questions because it's your health, it's your care. And you should be able to, advocate for that. And so I would call ahead and just see if you can get on a call with someone or if there is some kind of initial consultation because not every chiropractor is for everyone. So
that's what I appreciated about you when I called you. I mean, we had like probably a 40-minute conversation and I mean, you were just so well-rounded. And I feel like when you are looking for somebody, I mean, this is your health, this is your children, this is your body, like it matters. So don't feel funny calling around.
Totally.
And I feel like, being a coach, like I will tell people, like, if you don't feel for whatever reason comfortable, like that's okay. Cause I want you to be comfortable. That's like my ultimate goal.
Totally.
I want you to get the care and the expertise that you are needing. Right. And that's okay if that's not me.
Yeah. No, totally. And that's how we feel too is, this is what we do in our office. If that's not what you're looking for, we know a ton of other offices that we trust and we would love to send you to. Because it's more important. You're not going to get the same benefit if you're not feeling connected, if you're not feeling safe, if you're not in a place with people that you really trust and want to be part of your healthcare team. Yeah. So it's important that you do find something that's really important and someone who's really, connecting with you in that aspect.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here.
This
was a wealth of knowledge, and I know everybody is going to think the same thing, and I hope that this encouraged those of you who've been questioning the chiropractic care, have been having some questions. If you do have questions, you can comment below. If you're listening to this on the podcast, you're going to want to head over to YouTube so you can comment on there. And then I'll link Dr. Bree's stuff so you can head over to her Instagram and all of that as well. Alrighty. Well, thank you. I'll see you guys next time.